You're listening to KZUM News on 89.3 KZUM Lincoln and KZUM HD. Good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of KZUM News, an hour dedicated to learning more about what is going on in Lincoln and the surrounding areas. I am the news director and your host, Amantha Dickman.
Hi, I'm Nargis Sharman and I'm hosting my first story today. Mayor Laren Gaylor Baird and Lincoln Transportation and Utilities Director Liz Elliott met on Thursday, July 3rd to announce that the LTU and Aging Partners departments will use $19,885 AARP grant to fund a program to help older adults use public transportation. The How to Ride project will run from July through November and include 6 in-person educational training sessions for up to 90 participants. Will provide 700 transit passes for post-session bus and bicycle use. Mayor Gaylor Baird shared more details about the project with us.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for this news conference. With me today are Lincoln City Council member Sandra Washington, Lincoln Transportation Utilities Director Liz Elliott, our Aging Partners Director Randy Jones, AARP Nebraska Director Todd Stubenick, and StarTran Rider Shirley Portis. We're all here this morning to share some really great news that supports the quality of life for our older adults in Lincoln. I'm so thrilled to announce that the AARP Nebraska just awarded the City of Lincoln a nearly $20,000 grant to launch our How to Ride project. And through the How to Ride project, we will create hands-on training sessions offered at Lincoln's senior centers and cultural centers and Lincoln Literacy that will aim to make using public transportation simpler for and more accessible to our seniors. We are thrilled to be able to make life better for Lincoln's older adults by making it easier for them to get where they need to go, whether that's a doctor's appointment, the grocery store, or a family gathering. We're also so pleased that as we improve our seniors' access to transportation and their confidence in using it, we are reinforcing Lincoln's status as an AARP age-friendly community. Our city team worked really hard to earn that age-friendly designation last year, an achievement that helped set the stage for today's announcement. Randy, I want to say thank you to you for your leadership in helping us earn that designation. And today I also want to give really special thanks to LTU Director Liz Elliott and our city grant writer, Barb Beyer, who worked together to craft a winning proposal for our How to Ride project.
The City of Lincoln applied for the grant using Aging Partners survey data to build the proposal. Using the listening session, Aging Partners highlighted the key areas where the city could improve education and accessibility. Randy Jones, Aging Partners Director, spoke more about the process.
Thank you, Mayor. Today I want to share important insights that we've gathered from our recent community engagement efforts focused on building an age-friendly community, particularly on the topic of transportation. In a recent survey with 850 completed responses, 47% of them indicated that accessibility and convenience of public transportation is important for older adults to access services. To better understand community needs, we held 5 listening sessions, and the feedback was clear. Our community wants access to affordable and free bus passes, more accessible information on how to ride the bus, and greater public awareness on how to use the bus system. These concerns and suggestions have helped shape the direction of this grant. Our age-friendly steering committee has identified a key transportation goal, and that goal is to increase the knowledge and the use of public transportation by older adults. We recognize that transportation is a critical lifeline for health care, for groceries, for social connections, and independence. Older adults, like everyone else, rely on it to access essential services and participate fully in our community life. We also appreciate the work of LTU and the AARP to enhance an already good public transit system. A system that is more inclusive, more accessible, and more responsive to the needs of our aging population. Thank you.
Shirley Portes, a star train rider, provided first-hand testimony as to how these changes could improve the functionality of star train for riders like her.
I have used the handy van for probably 10 years. I use it to go to Aging Partners 3 times a week. I use it for 90% of my doctor's appointments. I've even snuck a little bit and went out to visit a friend or going shopping. I have yet to get on a handy van without a perfectly respectable driver for my age and my help. They're extremely helpful. I have no trouble buying the pass. They're very good with that. The dispatchers are sweethearts. I highly recommend, if you don't want to sit in your apartment and grow old, grab the handy van. It's easy to schedule. They're great guys, and it's truly the only way I could ever get out and do anything is with the handy van. And don't overlook the fact that they are great, every last one of them. Thank you, Mayor. Now I want to go sit down.
When it comes to execution of the program, AARP Nebraska Director Ted Steubendeck and LTU Director Liz Elliott spoke more about the grant process and the implementation process for the city-wide access.
Thank you, Mayor. For over 65 years, AARP has been committed to empowering individuals to choose how they live as they age. Our mission is to enhance communities, ensuring that there are places where everyone can thrive, regardless of age, ability, or background. Our vision is a future where urban, suburban, and rural communities are great places for people of all ages. In response to the needs expressed by mayors, local leaders, and residents, AARP launched the Community Challenge Grant Program in 2017. This initiative aims to fund quick action projects that demonstrate tangible change and build momentum for creating more livable communities. This year, we are proud to announce that AARP has funded the largest number of Community Challenge grants to date, awarding over $4.2 million to 383 grantees across all 50 states. Over the last 9 years, AARP has invested $24.3 million through more than 2,000 grants. And here in Nebraska, we have awarded 34 grants totaling over $430,000 to nonprofit organizations and governmental entities. We all know that Lincoln's already a pretty great city, but in 2024, Lincoln joined the AARP network of age-friendly states and communities and made a commitment to a community-driven process to make the city even more age-friendly. Today, we're particularly pleased to announce a transportation grant that will support Lincoln's age-friendly action planning process and enhance access to Lincoln's public transportation system for residents aged 50 and over. We deeply value our ongoing partnership with the City of Lincoln and look forward to our continued collaboration. Together, we can create a community where everyone, regardless of age, can live, work, and play. Congratulations to Mayor Gaylord Baird and the Lincoln Transportation and Utilities team. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Todd. The investment that AARP is making all across the state is truly amazing, and we're so grateful to be a part of it. And here to provide more about how we are a part of it is Lincoln Transportation Utilities Director Liz Elliott. Why don't you share a little more about how we're going to put these dollars to work for the people of Lincoln?
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. We are honored to receive the AARP Community Challenge Grant. Our team is excited to put this funding in motion for older adults and community members who want to learn more about using public transit. With this grant, we are ready to take important steps to make public transportation more accessible, inclusive, and easier to use, especially for our older adults and residents with limited English proficiency. We will expand our educational materials by translating our 4-part How to Ride StarTran video series and our step-by-step How to Ride StarTran tips flyer into 5 additional languages. We will also include information and resources on how to use the city's Bike Link bike share program through this grant. Currently, our videos are in English and Spanish. Soon, they'll be available in Vietnamese, Chinese, Arabic, Karen, and Kurdish. The flyer will also be expanded to include Kurdish, French, and Nuer. These languages reflect those most commonly spoken by our riders and help ensure more residents can confidently use our transit system. All translated materials will be available on our website by the end of 2025. The grant also supports 6 in-person training sessions. These hands-on events will teach people how to ride the bus and use Bike Link. To support our participants' continued ridership, we will offer 700 free passes and space for up to 90 participants. We are thankful to partners like Aging Partners and Lincoln Literacy who are helping us drive this project forward and expand outreach to older adults and multilingual residents. This effort helps more people stay on the route to food, healthcare, and essential services. With better education, outreach, and language support, we can make public transportation work better for everyone in Lincoln, no matter their age. So thank you again to AARP, our LTU team, and all of the partners who have hopped on board to bring this project to life. Thank you.
Lincoln City Council Chair Sandra Washington said the award and transit program validate Lincoln as an age-friendly community.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Mayor. As an at-large member of the Lincoln City Council, I'm committed to serving all of Lincoln, including our older adults. When we expand the ability of our seniors to access public transportation, we expand their horizons. The How to Ride project aims to make things like healthcare, food, jobs, and social connection more accessible for older adults. Awards like this demonstrate how Lincoln is an age-friendly community, but also much more. We are a welcoming community where our nationality or language does not determine how far we go or what we can achieve. By translating educational materials about public transit into multiple languages, the City of Lincoln provides a key entry point for older adults and newer Americans to boost their mobility and quality of life. And I just have to add one personal touch. My mom and dad took the opportunity to teach me how to ride public transit when I was very young, and I did the same for my daughter. And it is wonderful to know that we're going to do that kind of services and those educations to make sure that Lincoln Public Transit remains an accessible place for people to use and to ride. So thank you. And Ms. Shirley, thanks so much for your comments.
Finally, city leaders offered to answer the media's question about the program's implementation.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Yep.
All right, we'd be happy to take any questions if the media has any questions they want to follow up. Yes.
You mentioned that you're expanding to more languages. How were those languages identified? I know you mentioned that they are the most spoken.
Yeah, so we use a couple different metrics on that. We look at the riders that are riding our system, and we also utilize the Lincoln Public Schools systems to make sure that we're using and hitting the top languages spoken. And as we continue to do this, we'll continue to add additional languages. These aren't going to be the end of our efforts, but this is a really great start to get more done quickly.
And the free passes, are those going to the people who participate in the
Yes.
learning
The free passes, about 700 free passes, both that will include bike link passes as well as StarTran passes. They do include some of the monthly passes as well as individual use. We predominantly will be giving those to those 90 participants in the classes. So once they have been able to get that hands-on experience, they can then practice and utilize it for the following month. We will also provide some additional passes to our partners, like aging partners, so they can provide them to the people they serve.
She mentioned handy vans. Do you know how many handy vans the StarTran operates and about how many riders use them?
I would have Carla, our Assistant Director of Transit, here with us today, Carla Kozier, and I believe she might be able to provide more accurate data than me, my memory.
Good morning, thank you. We, excuse me, we currently have 32 paratransit vans that we operate, and we average somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000 trips a month for that service.
Like, how many people though, like, are using that service? Like, I mean, 8,000 to 10,000 trips could be just a couple hundred people.
Yeah,
but
no. So our system, we currently have, I think it is just shy of 10,000 participants, people that are qualified to use the system. And they range from using them multiple times a day to maybe just once a month. But the actual trips that we serve is right around that 8,000 to 10,000, but we do have quite a few that are qualified right at that 10,000 mark.
And is this a service that you just call if you're qualified and they come pick you up, or how does that work in relation to?
Yep, so there is a pre-qualification process that you go through, and it is for our elderly and disabled community members. And then once you are qualified for that, then you call our dispatch line to schedule those rides. You can call up to a week in advance to schedule those rides, or up to same day service if it's available.
Is the fee structure similar, like you would pay for a bus pass?
Yeah, it is similar. So we have the exact same types of passes available for single ride, day pass, 20 ride pass, or the 31 day pass, both regular service and low income. So you can get the exact same type of fees the exact same type of passes. That single ride pass is just $2.50, and your 31 day pass is, depending on if it's low income, is only $16. And that regular one is $32.
Sorry, I keep asking questions.
That's okay.
The grant money,
Yes.
is this education going to also go to those elderly people that are going to be wanting or needing to use the handy vans as well?
Right. So we will have an opportunity, again, because this is the AARP, to be focusing on the 15 above, so we will be able to provide some of those paratransit passes in addition to our fixed route passes.
But in terms of how to ride, like StarTran
Yes.
buses, will this be a part of the education?
That will be part of the education, yes, to be able to provide them how to make the dispatch reservations, how to get onto the paratransit vehicles as well as exit paratransit vehicles and the fixed route. So it'll be both services.
Carla, thanks for jumping in. Appreciate that. And we are so grateful for your time and attention and helping us get the word out so that many of our seniors can take advantage of this incredible opportunity that we have thanks to the generous support of the AARP. So thanks for being here. We're excited to continue to enhance quality of life for our seniors and promote their health, well-being, and happiness, and make sure they can get shopping into family members and, and other places they want to go. Thank you.
With that, we will take an early break. When we come back, we have a legislative update with Congressman Adrian Smith of Nebraska's District 3.
Support for KZUM comes from Lincoln Pharmacy, a local neighborhood pharmacy located at 33rd and A Streets. offering medication therapy management, adherence packaging, medical supplies, prescription delivery, COVID and flu vaccines, and more. Open Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 10 till 4. More information is available at lincoln-rx.com.
And from
support for KZUM comes from the Zoo Bar, celebrating 52 years with Zoo Fest 2025, happening Friday, July 11th and Saturday, July 12th in downtown Lincoln, with headliners Carolyn Wonderland, Kelly Hunt, Blood Brothers with Mike Zito and Albert Castiglia, and Tommy Castro and the Painkillers. Full festival lineup is online at zoobar.com/zoofest. Tickets are available at the Zoo Bar and on ticketweb.com.
and by
The 13th annual Power and Progress Music Festival, focused on spreading culture and building community. From August 7th through the 9th, local, regional, and national musical acts perform on 3 stages with camping at Falconwood Park in Bellevue, Nebraska. More information and tickets for Power and Progress Music Festival are available on social media and at pnpmusicfest.com.
Life-saving blood is a gift only volunteer donors can give. Right now, Nebraska Community Blood Bank needs you to donate blood. Visit ncbb.org today to schedule your donation.
And welcome back to today's episode of KZUM News. My name is Samantha Dickman, and I am your host for the second half of today's show. Congressman Adrian Smith of Nebraska's District 3 held a conference call for the media on Tuesday, July 8th to provide a legislative update following the passing and signing of H.R. 1, colloquially known as the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. During the call, Congressman Smith clarified what Congress's next steps are.
Good afternoon. This is Adrian Smith. Thank you for joining me this afternoon on a press call here. I'll share with you a few thoughts and then throw it open to questions. And certainly at that point, if you would identify yourself and your news outlet, that would be great. Let me begin by saying that I was very pleased to cast my vote for the reconciliation package and that President Trump signed it into law. This is the result of actually multiple years of effort on the Ways and Means Committee and other very diligent efforts across the House and the Senate. We have multiple parts of the bill that I think are important to secure our border, begin the work of addressing the federal government spending problem, and getting our work done on this legislation, I believe, is a game changer for American workers, households, and our nation's long-term fiscal outlook. It not only prevents the tax hikes, as I mentioned previously, it expands tax relief for family farms, small businesses, middle-class Americans. It actually includes a strengthening of essential farm bill programs. It also ensures public assistance programs remain sustainable for the neediest among us and empowers the Trump administration to keep our communities safe. I did champion various provisions in the package, which will empower parents with educational choice, support biofuels producers and energy affordability, boost growth for intensive industries such as manufacturing, and increase access to affordable telehealth for millions of Americans. This bill will catalyze the president's plan to energize our economy and get our country back on track. Once again, if you would mute your line, that would be helpful. As the Trump administration continues to negotiate with our trade partners, our international trade partners, it's important to understand the impacts of the barriers that exist in foreign markets. Other countries tend to have unfair barriers on American producers. And look at Canada, their unfair practices affecting the dairy industry and their recent digital services tax. Those are unacceptable. So I appreciate Canada's digital service tax withdrawal. I think it's an important step forward for American trade interests and North American cooperation, as this tax was actually discriminatory toward American companies and contrary to Canada's USMCA commitments. Eliminating this tax paves the way to provide us an opportunity for more productive trade discussions and a fair deal for our world-leading digital services providers and our innovators. I think it's important that President Trump and his team stood up for our companies, especially on digital trade here. It's a very important topic and growing in its importance. So coming into the 2026 USMCA review just next year already, it will be very important to address these issues so that American production and innovation can receive a fair deal. In fact, last week I sent a letter with my colleague, Representative Carol Miller, and 41 of our other House colleagues to commend the administration for ongoing efforts in trade negotiations and urge the administration to address the remaining barriers imposed by, say, South Korea, that the South Korean government that unfairly targets American service providers and innovators in the digital industries. So like technology, trade dynamics can change on a daily basis and require very intense and vigilant hard work. We have to stay on top of that. And like I said, it changes quickly, and we have to, it's a lot of work, but we need to commit ourselves to that. During my travels across Nebraska in recent weeks, I have to say it's been a privilege to connect with small business owners, healthcare providers, folks across the communities in ag and energy production throughout the 3rd District. And I do like to also highlight the fact that one of the best examples of the spirit of togetherness and Nebraskans coming together is the display of the North Platte Canteen for World War II. What a great example that we want to celebrate even today. You know, as you may know, nearly 7 million American troops came through North Platte and experienced the canteen during World War II. And so Senator Fisher and I have co-sponsored legislation. We're leading the way, I should say, as the primary sponsors of a Congressional Gold Medal that would honor the volunteers, which came from hundreds of miles away. Literally tens of thousands of volunteers came to North Platte. The population of North Platte at the time was just over 12,000 folks, and what an effort. And I'm glad that we can hopefully celebrate it with a Congressional Gold Medal here. We're in the process of gathering co-sponsorships. There's quite a task ahead to get all the co-sponsorships and the House leadership to schedule a vote. It is a tall task, but I want to do everything I can to get that done.
After Congressman Smith completed his update, he opened the call to journalists from all over the state who were seeking more information on how the bill might affect Nebraskans. With special attention on cuts to Medicaid and SNAP, Congressman Smith noted that state leaders are still considering what actions need to be taken to ensure stability.
So with that, I'll open it up to your questions. If you want to unmute yourself by pressing *6, like I said, please identify yourself and your organization for the benefit of everyone on the call. So go ahead.
Jacob Ross with KRVN out of Lexington. Obviously, there's been a lot of discussion about the One Big Beautiful Bill, and you could talk about it for, forever almost, it feels like, with all the little intricacies. But some major things that were left off, E15 being leased around year-round was one of the big issues. What are some of the things that you wish could have been included in that One Big Beautiful Bill that did end up getting nixed there as it went to the Senate before it bounced back to you guys in the House?
Right. Well, there were multiple issues that I would love to have included, but the reconciliation process it puts some guardrails where, say, E15, that is a policy change, and it did not really impact the bottom line to say revenues or expenditures for the federal government. And so that needs to be saved for another time. I think we have bipartisan support for this. It's my hope we can get this done. I know Senator Fisher has led the way in the Senate, and I've been working on this for some time in the House. We're seeing expanding support for this, especially, I should add, among our petroleum partners, should I say liquid fuel partners, where it's a great combination to have a petroleum product blended with a biofuel product. That's what helps us get this done. and ultimately helps consumers. So that is legislation that still needs to be addressed through a different process than what reconciliation afforded us. Next question.
Bill Seifert, WJAG Radio in Norfolk. Congressman, now that the reconciliation bill is done, what is next on the agenda for the House of Representatives? And can you give us some type of timeline as to when a new farm bill may be addressed?
Sure. Well, the Farm Bill is one of those issues that needs to be completed. Now, very large parts of the Farm Bill were already completed in the reconciliation process, given their financial impact to the budget. And so I was glad that that's crop insurance, reference pricing, and some other major programs were included in the reconciliation bill. Things like conservation still need to be addressed, and I think that is why we need to move forward with a full farm bill and to complete that task. There's the appropriations process that has been broken for far too long. And it is my hope that we can make some good progress on the appropriations process, optimally. 12 different appropriations bills, roughly by subject matter, are passed separately in the House, again in the Senate, with the Senate version, go to conference, ultimately get those sent to the President for his signature. That full process has broken down. It's been that way for far too long. And so it is my hope that we can work together to address things like that moving forward. But we've got other healthcare issues that I hope we can maintain access to telehealth. Part of the reconciliation bill did include my work on telehealth. Glad to see that. But I think we want to make sure that healthcare and technology are kept up to pace of what needs to take place in terms of policy changes. We want to make sure that government doesn't stand in the way of new technologies that can actually help patients and help providers assist patients as well. And so technology is really the answer moving forward with smartphones and various electronic technology. It's very encouraging, actually, to see what the possibilities can be, but it will require us to stay on top of our policies to make sure that there is access to that new kind of care in a responsible way. Next question.
Chris Wagner, NTV.
Yes.
Congressman,
go ahead, Chris.
For the big, beautiful bill, one of the things that I know didn't get talked about a lot is reporting that its impact on the Affordable Care Act. And there's some reporting out there that it's going to strip a lot of the government subsidies away from folks that use them to help afford their health insurance if stuff isn't changed again by Congress before the end of the year. And I was wondering if you had thoughts on that, if the House is possibly going to put a Band-Aid over that, or if people will have to just end up paying a lot more for their health insurance if they're on ACA.
Well, it is my goal to make sure that folks are not harmed. We want to make sure that folks who are doing everything they're supposed to be doing don't get kicked in the process. The so-called Affordable Care Act that hasn't turned out to be so affordable, whether it's for individual ratepayers, premium health insurance payers, or taxpayers. And the fact that the so-called Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, drove up the premiums so much, especially in the individual market. Yes, Congress has stepped in to provide some subsidies there to bring down those costs, and we need to stay on top of that. Now, it's a bit of a moving target, though, because of the way Obamacare was structured, and certainly other aspects as well that require a lot more time to discuss. But we want to make sure that the American people are not harmed, especially when folks are doing everything they're supposed to be doing. So I want to do all I can to stay on top of that.
And if I can get one more in.
Hi, Ian Mason.
Just a minute, Chris, you had a follow-up? Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, just one more big, beautiful bill question. You mentioned the school choice element, and I haven't followed that closely enough. Could you explain how that is similar or differs from the Opportunity Scholarship Act that was repealed by voters here in Nebraska?
Well, this would be across the country a scholarship program through tax credits that would ultimately empower families to decide what education is best for their children. And I'm very proud of a lot of the Nebraska public education. I'm the product of Nebraska public education. My parents both taught in the public education system, very proudly so. We do know that there are some kids across America who do not have access to the quality education that I think they should have, and that these families would really like to have. So this opportunity here for families to have access to some of these scholarships, I think would be good for our country, good for students most specifically, but overall in the aggregate would be good for our country with access to higher quality education in those areas where it is especially lacking. Next question.
Hi, Ian Mason, Local 4 here. Thank you for doing this call. I just have a quick question. So with the rural hospitals, they're getting $50 billion in funding, but the estimated cut to Medicaid was about $1 trillion. Is there any room there to increase that in the future? Are those plans you guys have? What is your take on that as we've seen the health clinic in Curtis announce a closure?
Well, I've certainly been in contact with several of our hospital CEOs in rural communities, especially. I think the Curtis closure of the clinic there is a very separate issue from the Medicaid issue that was contained in the reconciliation bill, the big beautiful bill. Now, let me say that the work requirements are very important to our safety net. And we're talking about connecting able-bodied adults with good-paying jobs, basically, in which their employer can provide health care. That's good for a household. That's good for an individual. That's good for the economy. But we're really wanting to make sure that, say, able-bodied adults with no independence, there are work requirements or volunteer requirements, to get them moving forward. Rather than incentives to not engage in the economy. And so that's the main focus here. Certainly there is the $50 billion package for rural health providers. There's always going to be a discussion on what is rural, what is urban, and we'll sort through all of that. But I want to stay in very close contact with our providers across Nebraska, which I do all the time. Had very good conversations with them as recently as this morning, and really appreciate their feedback. And let's make sure that we don't have policies on the books that actually make it harder, aside from what a dollar figure might be on reimbursement. But let's make sure that telehealth is appropriately equipped policy-wise from the federal government. And that, like I said, innovation and technology can meet the needs of so many folks as technologies do develop on a regular basis. So I appreciate the feedback that I've gotten, and I think there's good understanding of the policies contained in the reconciliation bill, really focused on work requirements. And certainly there is the issue of benefits, Medicaid benefits for illegal immigrants. And that is a huge issue. Now, there are providers who want to have access to all these dollars to provide for care for illegal immigrants. We have to take a different approach there, and that's what we are doing. And actually, the reconciliation bill overall was scaled back considerably from what I think would have been some other areas that need to be addressed that wouldn't even remove anyone from the enrollment of care, but really making sure that there is elimination of duplication of payments as one example. Appreciate the question. Next question.
I have a quick follow-up question. So as I'm sure you know, I think it's EMTALA is the law. Hospitals have to provide treatment if somebody goes in there. And so basically, when I talked to hospitals, they said, we have to eat that cost if an illegal immigrant comes in to get care and they can't pay. And so they were talking about that could end up raising costs for everybody else. So what are we looking at to try to fix that problem, I guess?
Well, I'm always open to hear from providers how we can reform EMTALA, that mandate to treat in the emergency room, the highest cost level of care. We need to empower providers. If someone shows up at the emergency room and it is more appropriate for them to go to the clinic, I would hope our providers could say, let's see you at the clinic, rather than that very expensive level of care being the ER. So that is my take on EMTALA and that mandate to treat. I think there's room for improvements there, and that would ultimately help providers reduce the costs rather than just being expected to charge that highest level of care and billing Medicaid immediately. I think we need to do better than that, and we can have a more cost-effective delivery of care there. Next question.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Congressman. This is Oliver Ward from AgriPulse. Chairman Jason Smith has said that he sees trade as a legislative priority now that the reconciliation bill has been cleared. Do you expect a trade package this year? And if so, what might the priorities be for that?
It is my hope that we will have a trade package yet this year. There are some very important components to that: the African Growth and Opportunity Act, the General System of Preferences, the Miscellaneous Tariffs Bill. In talking to our domestic manufacturers, they really see the importance of these preference programs, especially with their supply chains. And Haiti as well, that's another preference that I think is important, where we can have a partnership in place that helps us, and also would help another friendly country. Also, it gives our trade negotiators more negotiating leverage with these preference programs to expect our trading partners to cooperate in other areas as well, be it trade or other partnerships. I think it is important that we empower our trade negotiators to get leverage, and I think that can be done through some of these programs that I hope we can address before year end. And actually, I prefer, say, for AGOA, African Growth and Opportunity Act, that's expiring in September, so it's my hope we can get this resolved even before then.
Just one follow-up on the trade issue. When you talk to folks in the business community, what they say they're really craving is some certainty around these tariffs. Obviously, the news that the deadline has been pushed to August 1st now would suggest they're not going to get any certainty until that date. What's your message to the business community that wants to see some certainty on tariffs?
I totally agree that we want to see certainty on our trade policy. That will encourage our producers, our manufacturers, for example, to know what the policies are moving forward. Trade isn't just widgets coming from another country going to our consumers. There are supply chains and critical minerals, so many inputs for domestic manufacturing that are subject to international trade policies. We need to hopefully get this wrapped up sooner the better to bring that certainty that is a reasonable ask from our folks across the country as it relates to domestic manufacturing and processors, but American business in general. I think we could see our economy really benefit from formulating this trade policy moving forward, giving that certainty, especially in concert with the reconciliation, the One Big Beautiful Bill in place now, so that we can head into next calendar year, I think, in a very solid and effective manner.
Thank you.
Yes. Next question.
Congressman Smith, Jacob Ross. KRVN once again. Sorry, one last thing. SNAP has been kind of a big discussion, both when it was a part of the Farm Bill and then it kind of moved into the One Big Beautiful Bill. Talk a little bit about some of the changes to SNAP, and they're being portrayed as cuts in large swaths. Talk a little bit about the way that you view it and the need for the changes that took place in that One Big Beautiful Bill.
Well, when you see the growth of SNAP enrollment, hence the dollars spent, we should be taking a very close look at that long before now, and we have been, and that's why ultimately we have the work requirements of able-bodied adults without dependents to be able to, have expectations that to get benefits there needs to be the list includes work requirements in volunteering, for example, and again, we're not talking about people with disabilities. We're talking about able-bodied adults without dependents, or their children being old enough that they can still work at least on a part-time basis. And there's the generosity of the part-time work allowance. So ultimately, though, the SNAP benefits, the nutrition title that contains SNAP benefits, that is the most expensive title of the Farm Bill traditionally. And we want to engage in reforms that make sure that that program can be strengthened so that it can be in place for the folks who need it the most, and that the folks who don't need it will not have access to that and cost taxpayers more money. But I think it's important to note, the individual dignity that is accomplished with engaging in the economy and providing for oneself in a productive manner. And there are so many job openings across America. In fact, there's concerns that we have so many job openings, it's a missed opportunity for more economic growth. And so I think the time is now for work requirements to be implemented in a way that helps individuals. It helps build that dignity that I think can be good for individuals. That's the primary goal. The taxpayer savings, that is really a side issue compared to what can be achieved through getting folks off the sidelines of our economy with opportunities across the board. Any other questions?
Another quick question here from Ken. Go ahead, Chris.
No, you can go. It's fine.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I was curious, with SNAP, some of those costs might come back to the state like Nebraska. I was actually talking with Treasurer Breezy earlier today about how one of the themes of the Big Beautiful Bill is to take costs that the federal government incurs and then push those on the states. What is your vision for that kind of thinking, and how do you think that states should pay for it, if you don't mind?
Well, what we're seeing are the error rates in issuing SNAP benefits, also known as food stamps. We see some pretty glaring error rates, not Nebraska incidentally. And so to establish a threshold to where Nebraska will maintaining their current error rate, we don't expect perfection, by the way, let me be very clear. But we expect a modest error rate, not an error rate that's over 50% like we have seen. And it's really easy for a state with a different mentality, say, than Nebraska policymakers and administrators, well, those are federal dollars. There are no state dollars, so let's just push money out the door because after all, it's just federal money. Well, we need to do better than that. And that's why in the reconciliation bill, we expect states to do better. States that have a low error rate will not be impacted. States with a high error rate will have the opportunity to improve. And I think we'll see vast improvements, hence taxpayer dollars saved, and folks who need the help the most will still have very ample access.
Chris Flagger, NTV.
Yes, go ahead.
This morning, Congressman, I don't know if you've got a chance to see it or not. I know Governor Heineman, good grief, what year is it? Governor Pillen was in Washington this morning with the Trump administration and Secretary Brooke Rollins talking about protecting farmland and agriculture, essentially from Chinese and foreign stuff. And one of the things that Secretary Rollins said was is that the mass deportations will continue. That's not part of my question. But then she says that it will be the people that are currently working that would be deported would be replaced by automation, and then also the 34 million people that are not meeting work requirements on Medicaid. My question is, you know farmers, I know farmers. What would you tell a farmer that is told, hey, the hardworking, perhaps undocumented immigrant who's been working for you for a while is going to be replaced by either automation or someone that the current administration maybe deems as not working or trying to work like they've been? I mean, the farming economy, the farming situation is much different than maybe working at a store or something like that.
Well, upholding the rule of law is important. That needs to be our goal. And I think that's what we've been seeing even without the ICE raids and so forth. Even before that, a new president coming into office in January changed things just with the expectations of folks who were previously coming across our border. Illegal border crossings are down more than 90%. I think that is very important to note. I think that should allow us, and I've long said that a law-abiding individual wishing to pursue the American dream should be able to do so without having to hire a lawyer, spend several thousands of dollars, waiting several years for a lottery system, perhaps, and getting lucky. I think we can do better than that, speaking for myself. And I think, the president has made some comments that, he wants to see some merit-based immigration take place as well. He mentioned that in his first term. I think the president wanted to really formulate a deal on immigration during his first term. I think then Speaker Pelosi was adamant that then, the first term of the Trump administration would not, Speaker Pelosi did not want that to happen. And I hope that we can address the immigration process here that we know needs to be addressed while upholding the rule of law. We cannot send a message that we don't enforce the law. We saw that for 4 years under the Biden administration. Those Biden years were horrible on taxpayers. And I think the human trafficking that took place involving immigration and that flow of illegal immigration, the dismissive posture that then President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris had, I think that was especially damaging. Things are different now. I am glad. And I think the expectation of upholding the rule of law is helping us move forward in a way that is good for human beings, good for the rule of law, and ultimately having an understanding with our neighboring countries and beyond of what needs to take place. That we can't just turn a deaf ear or a blind eye to breaking the law. That is not right, and I think we are in a better spot now than we were last year at this time, and I think we want to push forward into some common sense reforms that can keep our country safe and have a clear, understandable process and less bureaucratic process to where the expectation is legal immigration. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone's time here and questions. If you need further details, certainly Logan in the DC office can help. It's great to be in Nebraska this week since we don't have votes in the House, and a lot of good reasons to be in Nebraska this week and to celebrate 4th of July, even though there's some nice fireworks in a literal sense. In Washington, D.C. on the 4th of July. I'm most often outside D.C. For the 4th of July, and it's great to be with friends and family and community folks all across the 3rd District anytime I can, and certainly that's the case this week. I'm very grateful, and like I said, if you need further information, please let us know. We can get you details and really get you the information you need. Thanks again. Have a good rest of the week.
The recently passed and signed One Big Beautiful Act, which President Trump has touted as integral to his second-term agenda, touches on nearly every aspect of the American economy, from social safety nets to income taxes. As we move forward, KZUM News will continue to explore the ways in which the bill will affect Nebraskans. You can check our social media for updates, or tune in every Saturday from 11 to noon. And with that, have a good afternoon. We are fast approaching the end of the hour, so here are your reminders for today. The KZUM Newsroom is always open to hearing about any questions, concerns, suggestions, or even any story ideas that you might want to share with us. All you have to do is give us a call at 402-474-5086, extension line 6. If you give us a call and we aren't available, don't forget to leave a voicemail. Or, if you aren't much of a phone person, you can also find our social media handles and more newsroom information at kzum.org under that About tab. Speaking of our website, if you happen to miss a show, you can always head to the KZUM News tab, where we archive all of our shows and include a transcript with links to that day's content. And lastly, I just want to give a shout out to Jack Rodenberg of the Rodenberg Music Experience. He put together all of the amazing original music that our news program uses. So once again, thank you, Jack. That wraps up our reminders for now. As you head out into the world, I hope you have a lovely day. Thank you for listening, and we hope you'll join us next time. You just finished listening to KZUM News, an original production of KZUM Radio that airs every Saturday at 11 a.m. Coming up next is Beta Radio, so stay tuned.